Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the much requested Nike Vapor Air Jordan 3 collab shoe. And there is a lot to like about this shoe, not just for how unique it is with how many influences there are on it for a collector, but also for a lot of its performance characteristics. So let's get into it. Now, the Air Jordan 3 Vapor is not the only Vapor 9.5 to come out this year. There's also been just the classic re-release of the Nike Vapor 9.5, and that's because so many professional tennis players, as well as just recreational players, have been requesting the old Vapor lines come back out. They're just super popular still on tour, and a lot of it is kind of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I think Nike just thought, if we're going to bring them back, we might as well do kind of like a retro collab with them on one of them, as well as the old Air Jordan 3 collab, which actually was a previous collaboration with Roger Federer and his RF logo. Now, since Roger Federer has moved on to On shoes, no pun intended, Nike has brought this back with a strictly Air Jordan 3 collab, which honestly I think looks pretty clean, looks pretty nice as well, but performance very similar to the original Air Jordan 3 Vapor 9.5. Now, obviously the biggest difference between the classic Vapors and the Air Jordan 3 is the elephant print backed leather uppers. That's a mouthful. However, what I noticed is even though this is, a little bit more of a substantial upper, a little more of a heavy upper, you can see in the microscope, they still breathe exceptionally well. I mean, if you look at the breathability test, these things only heated up 156.5 degrees, cooled down another 80.5, versus on their traditional, which heated up 158 degrees. The most heat exchange I saw going down was in the tongue, though. If you look at it, it is a perforated tongue all the way down. It is nice and padded. However, you can just feel the heat coming out of there really well. So even though those holes in it, those perforations are very small, they are plentiful and they do breathe exceptionally well. So even though it is a more substantial and heavier upper, it doesn't really bog you down. It doesn't really feel like it's trapping any more heat or making it feel like a swamp in the shoe, which to me was kind of the most impressive part about them. And like I mentioned before, this leather is reinforced with elephant print going all the way around the drag guard, as well as all the way around the heel. It actually cups the external heel counter on both sides. Now, this isn't going to give you all that much reinforcement. However, in the toe box, it is one additional layer for dragging and sliding. And because it is elephant print, it's just a little bit more irregular. If you look at the upper durability test, 10-second highest grit sandpaper, I mean, yeah, the burr does start to scuff it. However, it's hard to tell sometimes because of the irregularity of the print. So I'd say if you're not too crazy of a dragger or slider, all you're really doing is making these more one-of-one to your foot. But obviously the best part of any Vapor 9.5 or Vapor 10 tennis shoe is the integrated lace eyelets. And this is great for tennis, basketball, or pickleball because it gives you such a good lockdown. And because the uppers on these are a little more substantial than on the classic Vapor 9.5, a lot more containment as well. So you're getting a little bit up into more of that maximalist containment category in the AJ3 version versus on the classics where it's more of that kind of minimalist or mid-range. And if you look at the midsole teardown, it's exactly the same as the classic Vapor 9.5. Now, it's interesting, on Nike's website, they have it as a collab with the Vapor 10, but it does sit on a Vapor 9.5 chassis, and that is a full bed of Phylon with a rear foot zoom air unit right under the Strobel board. Now, what I like about this is it gives the shoe a little bit more of a tightly tuned suspension in the forefoot, especially with the XDR rubber, which we'll talk about in a minute, and just kind of the shank of the shoe. It is very hard and stiff plastic down there. So the shoe moves like the Diadora B Icon 2 would move, with just really tight suspension, really tight cornering, easy liftoff off the ground, and just kind of a shoe, especially with the uppers with them, it really fits like a glove around your foot. I mean, if you look at the bounce height tests on these, you got 38.5 centimeters in the heel with that zoom air unit, and 31 in the forefoot. But it's not so much the bounce height or the single leg jump height on these, because it's the same setup as the Vapor 9.5, but it's the fact that they're so easy to move once they are on your foot. Like I said, that suspension on them is tuned so tightly. As soon as you want them to move either up and down, side to side, or into the air, they go. And I think that's a big reason why so many pros still prefer the 9.5s to some of the later updates. And getting into the outsole tread of the Air Jordan 3 Vapors, it's that same super chunky herringbone on the lateral side, a little bit tighter and flatter herringbone on the medial side. You also have these two bend points right here for a little bit easier bending, because like I said, the shoe is tuned a little bit tighter. If you look at the speed ratio on these come in at a 2.22 versus a 2.29 on the classic Vapor. That's just because of the heaviness of the uppers of these. Like I said, with how tightly tuned the shoe is, their response time is so quick. So it's not like a shoe that might be a little bit lighter that you got to use so much force and muscle to get the shoe to move, even though it is super feather light. Whereas these, as soon as you want them to go, the snap of these is just so nice and responsive. So if you do want a shoe for that first step launch or that really quick off the blocks movement, especially for outdoor basketball as well, these are still a phenomenal pickup. And on the outsole durability test, 10-second tie grit sandpaper, I mean, yeah, not even a millimeter of damage on this. It says XDR rubber all over these shoes. I kind of wish Nike would put that, and Jordan Brand would put that on all their shoes, but XDR, just put a little diamond on there that says it. But this is a super hard rubber compound, durometer up over 20, so if you want to slide on these on a hard court, you definitely can. You're going to start to wear down a little bit, probably, like I said, on the elephant print more than on the rubber. However, like I said, just might make them more unique for you. And getting into the fit of the Vapor AJ3, a lot just like the classic Vapor, except they are a little bit less forgiving versus the classic Vapor 9.5. They still fit a little bit more hot dog shaped, except remember they also have this plastic clip on the side for a little more lateral containment. Now that's going to butt up against the tailor's bunion or a really wide foot. So if you are wide, like 2E, I just would go up a half size. Narrow medium foot, just go true to size. A 4E, you might want to think about going up a whole size on these, just like I said, for that lateral clip. Does tremendous for side-to-side containment, does tremendous for side-to-side movement, but it just might annoy you a little bit. And in terms of anything snake bitten, heel pain, it got a nice zoom air unit in there, so it will feel really plush. If you're somebody with arch pain or kind of arch strain, the shank on these being so stiff, like in the classic Vapor 9.5, it's going to do awesome. Anything really for ball of foot pain though, I probably would throw an orthotic in there just to offload from that smaller stack of Phylon and the forefoot. And like I said, I think really anything, if you want a little more plush comfort on these, a little more contour, I probably would just throw an orthotic in them and they should do just fine for you. And getting into the all-important playability of the Air Jordan 3 Vapors, I'll break this down into tennis, basketball, and pickleball. I would say for an outdoor basketball player, if you want a super responsive shoe and a shoe that is a little bit lighter than some outdoor, traditional basketball shoes you might wear, these are going to give you the side-to-side containment as well as the snap of a lot of those other shoes, but for a little bit less weight and just, like I said, a little bit faster response time. Now, if you are someone who is playing tennis, they're going to do just as well as the Vapor 9.5s do. Going to be a little more substantial on you, going to give you just a little bit more stoutness underfoot. And like I said, for me, I just felt a little bit more contained in these, just maybe like I was wearing a little bit more of a maximalist shoe. To me, there's not a huge difference between traditional Vapor 9.5 and Air Jordan 3 in terms of tennis performance. However, like I said, I will say if you want the containment and that little more confident feeling underfoot, and yeah, I do like the Jordan 3 version a little more. I do think it is enough of an upgrade to make a difference between the two shoes. In terms of pickleball, I think that first step snap for you, and that short court movement, especially because they grip so darn well, especially on the lateral side with that really wide, chunky herringbone, I think these or the traditional Vapor 9.5s are one of the best pickleball shoes out there right now in 2023, even given all the recent great new shoes that have come out. So really for anything on an outdoor court, these are going to do really well. I think number one, yeah, they're still a tennis first shoe. I think number two, pickleball. And then number three, a very close three though, would be outdoor basketball. But remember, that's true for a lot of tennis shoes in the outdoor basketball space. I feel like some of the best tennis shoes on the market rival the best basketball shoes on the market for outdoor use. Definitely not indoor for sure. But for outdoor use, a lot of them are neck and neck, and a lot of tennis shoes I would much rather have on foot than just kind of a hybrid basketball shoe that's meant to be worn either indoors or outdoors. There's a few that cross over there really well. And I definitely will make another video on kind of the best multi-sport shoes out there, so make sure you're subscribed for that for when that comes down. But, I would love to hear your thoughts on these two Vapor 9.5s. Are you glad that Nike put like a 90s retro colorway on one and then re-released the Air Jordan 3 on the other? Or are you kind of looking for new updates on the Vapor line? Let me know in the comments down below. I do have links in the description to both these, the affiliate links to grab these if you want them. They are still in stock on Nike's website. And like I said, if you want to see another sibling to the Vapor 9.5 Air Jordan 3 collab, the Nike Vapor Pro 2, which kind of is a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde shoe, but tremendous on clay, make sure you click into this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. See you in the next one.